Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at patreon.com/inspired disorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Titane is the movie I'm talking about. It is a French word for titanium. Titane, which I had to look up how to pronounce it, so hopefully I'm still pronouncing it correctly. This is a movie that is written and directed by Julia Ducournau. I definitely butchered that name. Julia Ducournau, which maybe you've seen her first film. This is her second film. Her first being the movie Raw, which I had not seen. This is my first film of hers. I watched them out of chronologically released order. And this one's quite a bit different. I did watch Raw after I watched this because this movie is crazy and I absolutely needed to have some kind of context for what types of stories this woman tells. Because they are which I thought Raw was a masterpiece. So not so, I almost want to rewatch Titane just to see now that I kind of understand the vibe. But this one's just definitely crazier story. I'm going to be spoiling this because in an effort to understand what I watched, I kind of need to talk it out and I need to hit on a bunch of the crazy beats that happen in this movie. It's a French film. They're both French films. People speak French. You have to read subtitles, which I am doing a lot of these days, and I'm perfectly fine with. I'm very used to getting that pause button ready because I am not a fast reader. So there are many times in conversations in these movies that I have to like pause and this one wasn't too bad. There's not a whole lot of dialogue necessarily in this one, but it's like for those that don't know, it's like I'll try not to spoil it at first. It's this kid is I don't even want to, like, how could I talk about this? This is a movie about a troubled person who's like kind of living a weird life, and it's like it's almost, and like there's this fireman who lost his kid and thinks that it's almost impossible to speak about this movie without actually talking about specific details. I can't necessarily recommend it. I definitely would recommend Raw, the first film by Julia, because that is a masterpiece. Horror film. Both of these, I technically, I guess they're horror. There's definitely disturbing moments in both of these. So if like that's kind of, and if like you're into movies that are crazy stories about like very unique, unstable people, then you might like Titane. I don't know if I liked it. It's weird because I loved Raw and I hadn't seen Raw. I watched this one first. So maybe on a second viewing, I'll watch it. I don't know why I would watch it again. But this movie starts off. So I'm going to spoil it. I'm just going to get into it and talk about things. It starts off, you're in this car ride with this dude and his daughter. She's in the back seat, humming. Not sure if she's autistic or not. Doesn't really seem like that because she gets, most of this movie takes place as she's older. But it starts off when she's a kid and she's like moving around in the back seat. Dad, she unbuckles her seatbelt and is just, fucking around the back seat. Dad not paying attention, trying to get her to sit down. Car accident. Kid flies into the windshield, the side window. And she ends up getting a titanium plate put in her head. That's how this movie starts, right? Okay. Kind of interesting because there's car accident, kind of very similar to car accident as Raw. There's a couple car accidents in Raw. Different movies though. So she gets injured, gets this titanium plate, Cut to, hospital. She's getting released from the hospital. And she goes and she like gives the car, like out in the parking lot, she gives the car like a big hug. And then she's like kissing the window, the side window. Like, maybe as a kid, just thankful that the car saved her, that she, that she, I don't know. Also, brain damage, you know, generally people when they get brain damage they tend to act different, their personalities change, especially in kids. It happens a lot. So I don't know how much of that went into the writing of this movie, but starts off weird. Not super weird, I mean, kind of a bummer start. This kid gets in an accident, then she gets out of the hospital and makes out with this car. Cut to, she's older, and it's like this car show is going on, right? Nighttime car show, almost like Fast and the Furious style car show. Like, music's going, it's like a party atmosphere. Everybody's dressed up. They got the neon lights on all the cars. You got the lowriders bouncing up and down. And she is now older, and she is dancing, like kind of like seductively dancing on her car. A car. I'm not sure if it's her car. She's on a car. And she's apparently well known. She has fans. At night, she leaves and she signs autographs when she leaves this car show, which is like, okay, maybe she's like, after this accident, she like fell in love with the car. She like gets some infatuation with the vehicle or cars in general. So she got into cars, and it's a very sexual thing for her. She likes to dance on it. It's just, I understand people love cars. I've never been really into cars. I think, they're definitely cool looking cars, but like people have intimate, like dudes who fix up old cars have like very intimate relationships with their cars. So this is just a similar but different, more erotic kind of infatuation with cars. So she's dancing, she leaves, she signs the thing. On her way to the parking lot, on her way to the car, some dude starts chasing her. She gets to her car, and apparently it's just a fan that's crossing over all of the lines, and ends up like kissing her, like forcing a kiss on her, which she pauses for a moment, like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And then she like gets into it. I don't know if she's playing it. I think she's playing into it, because what happens next is she pulls a little like metal spike out of her hair, right? Looks like a chopstick size style ish. Pulls this thing out of her hair. You know how women they do it with pens and shit. I don't know what it's called. I don't know what that thing is called, but it looks like a chopstick. She pulls it out as she's like making out with this very just like fan, this crazy fan, making out with him. She stabs him. I'm like, okay. So it's like she's like she's kind of like a killer too. I don't know. She stabs him, and then she leaves, and then she ends up inside of, I think, the car she was dancing on, chained up. Like there has to be layers of metaphors in this movie that I am just not getting. Right? She's got this titanium plate. She has this infatuation with cars. There's kind of this fan that crosses a line, and then now she's inside of another car. It looks like she's having sex inside of this car, but nobody else is in the car. So maybe she's having sex with the car. That happens. If you've been on the internet long enough on a porn site, you will see women have sex with cars, stick shifts and whatnot. That's not necessarily she looks like she's in the back seat chained up. It feels like the movie's telling me something in metaphor, and it's going so far over my head. I don't know. So like at this point, that's like the opening kind of the movie, the second beat of the movie. The car accident, now she's having sex like in a car. I don't know. So yeah, she stabs him. She goes, like an old, like it looks like a lowrider, and it's like bouncing up and down. You can see on the outside of the car while she's having sex inside with the car. This car's bouncing up and down. Uh, then there's like this scene where she goes to take a shower. There's like community showers at this car show dance club place, and she's taking showers. So there's like a bunch of naked women all taking showers, like at like a locker room type of a situation. Okay, she's showering next to this other girl who's like a fan of hers also, and her hair, you see, like they move. Her hair gets caught in this other girl's nipple ring. She ends up getting it, like just pulling her hair off real quick, and hurts her. There's a later scene where they're making out, and she's like licking the nipple ring, and then she starts biting it, and she wants to like bite it off. Like she's like wants to cause pain, but like she gets off on it. It's weird, man. It's weird. It's weird because there's a scene where they're making out. Two hot chicks making out. She's licking the nipple ring. She almost bites the nipple ring out of her titty, out of her nipple. And then she like runs away to go throw up because she's pregnant. She got pregnant from the car, right? The car sex scene that was just her in the car. She's pregnant. It's just like this, just these events are happening. It doesn't make sense as I'm telling them to you because that's how they happen in the movie. And I was like, I don't know. It's clearly a metaphor of some sort, I think. So then she ends up at this house, right? They're taking care of her. This chick that she's making out with, she's like, come to this house. Get you, you're sick. Let's get you cleaned up or whatever. And she goes and she does, like, she takes that same thing out of her hair, that spike thing out of her hair. Her weapon of choice is made of metal. And then she goes to give herself like a DIY home style abortion, I guess. It makes her bleed. A little over 4 years ago, I started The Many Faces. It's an ongoing series of abstract ink portraits. Each piece is improvised. Each piece is released daily. Start collecting now. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/TMF. That stands for The Many Faces. And save yourself 25% when you use coupon code RTS. That stands for The Ray Taylor Show, because that's what you're listening to, and I love you. So I want you to save 25% when you use that coupon code. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/TMF and use coupon code RTS to save 25% when you start collecting one of over 1,600 original ink paintings. By myself, I made them. Support me. I love you. Back to the show. I don't know. But then there's like, in this house, she's like, she gets the taste for killing. And she finds out that like, it's like this house, there's a bunch of people there having, it's like a sex party house. Right? She gives herself a self-abortion. Now they're at a sex party house. What is this movie? This is nothing like Raw. Raw is like, it's, you can follow the thing. You can follow what's going on. The events in this movie are crazy. So she's at the sex party house and she's killing people. There's a cool kill with stool. She like shoves a stool through somebody's head. That's cool. I'm for this movie if it's just going to be like, oh, she's a psycho killer. Like, the brain damage, the titanium plate in her head makes her want to bond with machines, but then also wants to cause other people pain because she's probably been in a lot of pain in her life. dealing with that injury, whatnot, and whatnot. Not really having a father, it seems like, that really gave a fuck about her. Also, like, this from what the little you've seen. It's like, so kills person with the stool, cool. She's like, so she's just going through this house killing people. And she ends up going to burn in the basement of this house, going to burn some evidence or whatever. I forget what, clothes maybe, with blood on it. And that she's just like in awe of this fire that she started. And you see this fire like growing up the side of the wall. So now like the basement's on fire. And she's going through the house to make sure, see who's left to kill or whatever. And there's like a dude laying in bed, like clearly, somebody's sleeping next to him that, having a post-sex nap. And it's one of those doors where you have a key that is on the inside of the door. You can take the key out and then you can, lock that door from the outside, which she does. She looks inside. She sees them sleep, or him kind of like looking like, what are you doing? Are you going to come in and join? Who are you? What's going on? And she takes the key out and then closes the door and then locks it. Thus, eventually the fire is going to get to them. Which that's cool. Okay. She kills everybody in the house. It's like, okay, that's what this movie is. We're just going to see this person killing people. It's what you think. That's what you think. So then she goes, she's now making the news after the first kill. There was like this news thing where, they're talking about, it's like, oh, it seems like there's these kills that seem to be linked in some way. And she's like in a train station or a subway station. They have these video screens that show like missing children. Like, here's this person's been missing. This kid's been missing for 10 years. This is what they look like aged up. Call if you see somebody. It's also showing a wanted poster. And of course, it's a sketch of her. So she goes into the bathroom. She needs to change her identity. Probably one of the best of those kinds of scenes in movies where the character is now on the run. And they need to change their identity. This one's probably the most visceral, to use a word to describe this identity change kind of a thing. Because it's not just cutting of the hair. She shaves her eyebrows off. And then she smashes. She's trying to punch herself in the face to make her nose fucked up. Because she's trying to look like one of these missing kids. Right? Because she kind of like, there's one that's kind of, and it's like, well, if she, she fits most of the description, but it's a boy that's missing. So she's, it's got the cut hair, but she needs to bust the nose because the nose isn't right. And she ends up slamming her head on the sink to break it. It's just like, of those, probably the best of those types of scenes in movies. This one's probably the best. So props to Titane for the changing identity thing. So she goes and the guy, the fireman whose son has been missing for 10 years, goes to claim him. She thinks he's a boy. And she's like all taped up. By the way, already starting to show a little bit. This is a fast-moving pregnancy. Ace bandage, got to strap down the titties, and now the belly, the baby belly. Goes to claim her. Where are we at? Goes to claim her. You see the dad, like, clear, like, she goes back to his place. It's weird. She's not speaking. Busted up nose. He's not speaking. We don't know what the situation was before. And clearly there was some weird, creepy shit going on with this son and this dad prior to, like, probably why he went missing. Probably ran away. Needed to get away from this guy. This guy's got like a healthy TRT habit or steroids, whatever it is. He's an older guy, but they have a scene where a few of them where he's shooting up, and then goes to the firehouse, and he, like, I guess he lives at the firehouse, obviously. So he's like working out inside the firehouse, doing pull-ups, crying. It's like a crazy scene of this dad that we're just now introduced to. That is the she's trying to be his son. And he's the fire chief. So it's like, okay, son, you're going to be a fireman now. You're going to go through the training. The other firemen there are like, what is going on? Does he know his son's gay? It's like, no. Do you know that that's not even a dude? There's a moment where he's going to shave her head and only gets halfway. It like bothers her Titane plate in her head. But it visually, having that half of the head shaved and the other half still have hair, visually represents the kind of duality. I mean, that's like kind of a look that has represented like male, female, having the face split, the duality of people, bisexuality, the two sides of the gender. So it's like on a visual thing, it makes sense as that character is also portraying herself to be a man living this double life. So an interesting like visual connection there. So it's like now she's in this fireman world doing things. One of the firemen finds out that like he saw the wanted poster of her, and now her nose is healed. And so he found out. The dad kind of knows because she's always like hiding away. She's got to sneak away because she's got to be like wrap up her titties. By the way, her pregnancy is getting bigger and bigger. She's got like this there's aspects where she's like scratching herself. She accidentally fingers a wound. Like, this movie is bonkers. Like, it's like you're on a wild train that's out of control on a mountain, and it's like it's rocking on the train tracks. Like, it's not really, it's flying all over the place, and you're on the outside of it, and you're just holding on, and you're like, I don't know where this thing is going, but I just got to hold on and survive it. Because what is this movie? What is this movie? It's so weird. And then there's like, so it's like there's acceptance of his son being gay, like he doesn't care. There's like this weird like sexual tension between the dad and the person that he might still think is his son, or is it accepting that it's not his son? He's okay with like whoever this person is. Like, it's just it's helping him to fulfill whatever's been missing in his damaged brain. It's so weird. And even like you see there's this scene where like there's like a rave is going on at the firehouse, and of course she, getting back to her old roots of dancing like a sexy bitch, which she gets up on, on top of one of the things or whatever, and she's doing this sexy dance looking like a dude, but like physically looking like a dude, but clearly moving like a woman, like a very flowy, seductive woman, which I'm sure there's men out there that can dance like that. But she wasn't trying to hide. Like, she was like, this is what I do. I'm the Michael Jordan of this shit. This is like, aside from killing people with her little spiky thing, dancing is her. She had to leave her fans running from these murders that she did. her giant fan base. There's like this scene where the dad and the who he thinks is still his son, they are dancing like it's, just trying to like loosen things up, break the ice, whatever. Starts off by dancing and then ends up kind of like him trying to fight, like instigate a fight. So weird. So weird. There's also a disturbing scene where she, in disguise as this boy still, as disguised as this dude, is taking a bus. It's on a bus, and there's a woman on the bus. They're both halfway in the bus, and then like a group of drunk dudes comes onto the bus and are loud and are harassing the one woman that looks like a woman. Although the movie never really, like, there's the scenes are of the woman looking at our main character, which I should probably know our main character's name, right? Alexia. Great name for setting off home devices. Alexia is the woman who's in disguise as a boy. And she's looking at this other woman that's sitting there. She doesn't know she's a woman, but and then the dudes are clearly like catcalling at a woman. And there's this tension of like, kind of like the one woman's like, fuck, like I could get raped. Something bad can happen. And then Alexia is like, I could kill these people. Do I feel like killing a bunch of people right now? Like completely two different mindsets of these two different women sitting in this bus. And like, you see the movie Nobody. There's a scene similar to this where he's on a bus and these group of guys get on the bus and they're harassing this girl, and he takes it as an opportunity to kick a bunch of ass because that's what he does. He just hasn't been able to do it. So there's that. It's a great scene in the movie Nobody. This movie handles it a bit different because there's that moment where it's like, oh shit, something really bad is going to happen to this woman, if somebody doesn't stop these guys. Cut to bus pulls away and Alexia is standing on the side of the street. She just let those dudes do whatever they were going to want to do to that woman. I mean, who knows? Maybe the woman knew some jujitsu, some Muay Thai. You don't know. Maybe she had a weapon. I don't know. That's not what the movie was. It's like she just like she's like a lamb that she just let wolves. Like she didn't want to even be bothered to deal with that. Or it's kind of like letting her experience the pain. I don't know. Like I have a feeling there's a reading of this movie that makes a lot of things make sense, that make everything kind of fall into place. Because I don't have that special decoder ring, this movie is brutal. That was a brutal scene because I'm expecting her to be like vengeful and like protect this other woman. But no, she does not do that. She just gets off the bus, which is kind of a crazy scene. It didn't really have to have a scene, but it does show the kind of the mindset. She goes home. The dad ODs at one point. I thought he died, but he didn't die. But in that moment, he found out that she's, because he wakes up and he sees that she's alive. She's a woman. I mean, he sees her dressed up in his ex-wife's dresses. That's what it is. So he hasn't seen her naked yet. That does happen. She's wearing a dress, and he's like, "Oh, it's cool." He pulls out these pictures from when his son was a child, and he was wearing the same dress. So it's like, you can't tell me you're not my son. You're still cross-dressing. You're still wearing, that's your favorite dress. You're wearing it again. What is this movie? But it's fine. He's perfectly okay with it. They go back firefighting duty. She actually saves a life, right? Throughout this whole movie, she's taking lives. She's letting people die or be harmed. She's like, no concern for human life whatsoever until this moment where she saves this person's life. Old lady passes out. Like there's a drug overdose, whatever. Old lady that called it in, she passes out. But they got to do CPR, save her. So she saves a life. Which is, kind of that kind of turning point. It's like, what is this movie? Is this like the silver lining? Is this like she's going to find she loves humanity? The dad is like fine with, her son being a cross-dresser or gay or whatever. He seems very open with whatever his son wants to be within his identity or sexually, whatever. He doesn't seem to be, an asshole about it. And that's where the fireman finds out. I think it's after they're coming back from that call where she saves a life. The dad knows also. I don't know what that word is. What did I write there? There's a scene at the end. I'll just go to the end of this movie. Get over with. Because the dad knows, they go back, the rave happens, the dad walks in on her as she's like dealing with, and also like as this baby is growing so fast inside of her, like it's splitting the skin open, and you can kind of see that like, oh, it's like something metallic inside there, right? More metaphors or something, I don't know. Dad walks in, they have like this crazy moment where he's like, I don't care that you're a woman, you're not my son, and you're pregnant, and it's splitting open, and you see the Titane poke through. And then all of a sudden she starts to have contractions, and the dad is, because he's a firefighter, he knows this basic shit, so he helps give birth to a kid, and then she dies. So it's like kind of, and he's like, oh, I got this baby, this like new, it's like weird, like new beginnings maybe, I don't know. This movie's crazy. So she dies. This damaged TRT firefighter dude now has a baby. I guess, I mean, it's a satisfying end, right? There's a moment, this character finally has a moment, finally changes. She finally like helps to save a life. And right when everything gets found out, right when everything falls apart, she still gets acceptance from this dude that's willing to be whatever he needs to be to her, because it's like she fills this void for him, like needing to take care of something. Now he has a new, like almost a second chance to raise a child from. But I don't know. I don't know if it's like the car sex thing was like, oh, she got raped, and now she's carrying this child in her that is a rape baby. I don't know. Somebody tell me what this movie is. I loved Raw. Raw was a great movie. Titane, I don't know, man. I enjoy this director. I will see whatever she does. Apparently, she did a bunch of episodes of Servant on the Apple TV Plus, that TV show. So maybe I'll check it. I heard that show's pretty good. But yeah, this movie is crazy. It's crazy. I need to listen to people who know more explain this one to me. But yeah, it's on video on demand. If you're into that, if that sounded like something you want to see, because I spoiled it. Like all of the beats, pretty much. Not in order, but those are the things, those are the highlights of this crazy movie. Titane. Check it out if you want, at your own risk. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com and follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace.